In this video, I'll be giving you guys the 7 most common mistakes that guppy keepers make. And these are going to be things that I wish I knew when I first started out years ago, so we're going to cover as much as possible, and hopefully these are going to save you lots of time and lots of trouble. So the first mistake I want to talk about is not buying good stock. What I mean by this is essentially not buying good guppies at the store or online. Now with buying guppies online, I have done it before, and it could be quite tricky. But let's first talk about purchasing them at a physical location, which the main thing to look out for is diseases. There's a really good reason why this is important, and that's because guppies have gotten progressively weaker in the recent years due to mass inbreeding in fish farms. Basically, this has made guppies much more prone to getting diseases, such as internal parasites, as well as a lot of other nasty things. But when you're selecting guppies at your local fish store, it's really important to check the tank for any diseases. If the fish itself doesn't have any disease, but everything else in the tank is dying or sick, chances are that guppy is going to be sick once you take them home as well. So when you choose fish from the fish store, you not only have to look at the fish itself, but also the tank that it's being kept in. And this is important, especially with guppies, since they're so prone to diseases. So make sure you check your guppies for any problems, because you don't want the guppy to bring home any diseases that's going to contaminate the whole tank and cause a lot of problems. Now with buying guppies online, there's really not that much you could do, but I am going to share with you guys some tricks that will maximize your chances of getting healthy guppies. First of all, obviously you want to make sure that the store is reputable. You shouldn't just buy off an illegitimate account on eBay. Make sure it's an authentic, verified seller. The other thing you could do is check their policy for live arrival. This is so important because you want to know what their policies are in case something goes wrong or when you can request a refund. So make sure you check the return policy and what they request you do in the event that your guppies arrive dead. Another thing you could do is ask the seller a few questions before purchasing. This can sometimes indicate the seller's reliability and also give you some valuable insights. So, for example, you could ask them if they bred the guppies themselves or imported the fish. Usually the guppies that are bred by the seller are so much more healthy than those that are imported. Reason for that is the imported guppies are oftentimes bred in farms and not kept in the most ideal conditions, but mainly when they're imported they might just arrive sick. In some cases, the seller might still sell them as long as they're alive, so that's something to keep in mind. But the most important thing, again, is to check the online store, check if it's an established business, and check the ratings, see if it's reliable or not. The 6th mistake on the list is going to be inadequate tank space, or overcrowding. Now, it's no secret that guppies breed super fast, usually once every 40 to 50 days, but they reproduce very often and in large amounts. What this means is that if you have male and female guppies, they're going to overpopulate the tank very quickly. If you got something like a 5 or 10 gallon, they're going to overrun the tank before you know it. I always suggest a tank size of at least 10 gallons. I feel like that's the bare minimum if you got a couple of guppies. I recommend starting out with around 5 or 6 in a 10 gallon, and for 5 gallon maybe just a pair or two. Some people actually keep tanks with just male guppies only if they're not planning to breed the guppies at all, or if you're simply trying to aquascape a guppy tank and don't expect any offspring. But anyways, make sure you avoid overcrowding your guppy tanks, make sure the tanks are not overstocked, and you should always be prepared if you're trying to breed them to have more tanks at the ready, or have a plan with what you're going to do with the excess fry. The 5th guppy keeping mistake is having a lack of oxygen in the tank. This can be from not having a filter or not having enough aquarium plants that provide aeration for the tank. What this leads to is you're going to see the guppies gasping near the surface or staying near the top of the aquarium. The reason they do this is because there's a lot more oxygen near the top of the water than any other area because it's close to air. So that's going to be the most common sign you see if the tank is lacking in oxygen. And this is usually really easy to fix. Obviously, I recommend live aquarium plants. Not only do they provide oxygenation, but also many other benefits as well. And you could easily do this with some fast-growing plants such as hornwort or alodia, the fast-growing plants. The other method is to use an air stone. So basically what these things will do is they produce these tiny air bubbles filled with oxygen, and they're going to help oxygenate the tank and keep oxygen flowing. Mistake number 4 is going to be bad water quality. This is usually in the form of high ammonia or nitrate levels that are caused by overstocking, fish waste, or leftover food. Having too much ammonia in the tank is basically going to poison your fish and cause them to die, basically. Overfeeding is a common cause of this. When you overfeed the guppies, it's going to cause the uneaten food to sink and rot, which is going to ruin the water quality. So make sure to just feed small amounts, not too much at a time. You also want to have good filtration, and unless you have tons of aquarium plants in the tank, you should be doing water changes every week. But a great way to solve the issue of high ammonium nitrates is to just have lots of aquarium plants. Again, fast growing plants are going to help this a ton since they soak up lots of nitrates. Floater plants like salvinia are also great nitrate soakers, and so make sure to keep the water quality good. Symptoms that you will see are gasping at the surface, again, cloudy or murky water, lots of algae, loss of appetite, stuff like that, or frequent disease or death. The typical pH range for guppies is going to be around 6.5 to 8, so if it's anywhere too much below or above that, then you know there's an issue. And so the fourth mistake is going to be bad water quality. Mistake number 3 is not using live aquarium plants. These are very important, especially if you want to keep an aquarium that's natural and self-sustaining in a way. Live plants are so beneficial in so many areas. They're like natural filters for the tank. They're going to help keep the water purified and the tank healthy. Your guppies are going to produce a ton of waste, and plants are extremely useful in absorbing all that buildup in the tank, and they're just going to use those organic nutrients to grow. And plants are just going to make your maintenance process so much easier. You can see that most of my tanks are very heavily planted. I don't have to do a lot of maintenance. Another benefit of using live plants is that they provide natural hiding spots for baby fish. So all those baby guppies that are going to look for a place to hide, plants are going to be very useful for that. Stuff like jungle val, hornwort, alodia, guppy grass, those are all great, and you are going to find that they're going to have a lot of benefits to your aquarium. Mistake number 2 is going to be keeping the temperature too warm. Now, guppies are tropical fish. They normally do fine in a temperature between 70 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Usually the higher you go, the more likely they breed because of how their metabolism increases with temperature. But the reason why I don't recommend keeping the temperature too warm is because it actually shortens their lifespan. The warmer you keep your guppies, the shorter they will live. Guppies typically live for around 2 to 5 years. I recommend keeping them in a temperature of around 75 to 78 degrees Fahrenheit. You don't really need to go all that high in the 80s, and you're going to see them live longer, healthier lives. They're still going to breed once every 5 to 6 weeks, and your guppies are going to live much longer lives than if they were kept in a temperature that was higher. And so mistake number 2 is going to be keeping guppies in temperatures that are too warm. Mistake number 1 is not providing a varied diet and using only flake foods. So this is something that I think is a lot more common than most people think, and I think the main reason is because most people can't think of anything else to feed besides the normal flake foods. But for guppies, it's really important to diversify their diet, feed as much different types of food as possible. If flake food is all they're being fed, then they're not getting all the nutrients they need. In the wild, they eat a lot of live foods, so stuff like bugs and worms and stuff like that. Live foods are great, but even if you can't get those, there's still a lot of different options to try out. So for example, you could feed your guppies fruits. I like to feed bits of apples, bananas, just tiny small pieces of them, or even zucchini and cucumber. But my favorite choice for all fish that is very, very accessible for anybody is egg yolk. I've talked about this in many videos, but there's so much benefits to feeding your guppies egg yolk. They're very high in protein. All of my fish just go crazy for them. You just boil an egg, throw a pinch of egg yolk in there. It's probably one of the best foods you could feed your guppies. Egg yolk is also great for the fry. As soon as you throw it into the water, it's going to dissolve into tiny pieces, and if you haven't tried this yet, you definitely should. Very rich in protein and nutrients. It's also really easy to make. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully this info is going to help you guys out a bit. If you want to learn about the 5 main reasons why guppies die, watch this video right here where I give you the 5 common reasons why guppies die, as well as how to treat them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.